You know, folks, all of my life I've heard politicians lie to me to the point that I'm just used to it. I expect when a politician is talking, they're probably either A, lying straight to your face, or B, they're stretching the truth, or C, they're just going completely around the truth. I can't count the times that I've seen a politician get asked a question just as simple as, "What are your plans for the weekend?" And their answer will be, "Well, I think the real question is, what's all Americans doing this weekend? You know, there's a lot of things going on this weekend." And they'll sit there and they'll go around the question and they'll never actually tell you what they plan to do on the weekend. I'm used to that type of rhetoric, and yes, both sides are guilty of it. But nowadays, MAGA just comes right out and says straight out loud how they're playing you. They come right out loud and tell you they're lying to your face. They come right out loud and tell you they're creating stories just to get the media talking. And now they've got a new talking point, which is don't bring up Donald Trump's record. Okay, just don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. Don't mention any of the things he's ever said or done. Don't mention any of the things that he's supported or the things that he says he's going to do. Because if you bring those things up, that's going to turn the temperature up in the room and make people mad. It's going to get people all riled up. They're actually saying this now into live microphones on live TV. And here's Byron Donalds saying just that. Kamala Harris needs to stop talking about the things that Donald Trump does and the things that Donald Trump supports because it's getting people fired up. So that's the new talking point that they're saying out loud. And if you don't believe me, here's the clip.
Well, Congressman, do you think Kamala's issued statement where she said there's no place for violence in America, or she's glad Donald Trump's safe, was that sufficient?
No. What she should do is go through all the ad campaign that they're running in the battleground states. Anything that references being destructive of democracy and all the other tropes and the lies, Project 2025, all that stuff, it should come down. Stick to the facts, stick to the policy. But you can't do.
Okay, first of all, I have heard Kamala talk about policy. She talks about what she's going to do to move this country forward. And when she does, MAGA will criticize her and say, well, why hasn't she done it so far? And these are the same people, anytime we criticize J.D. Vance, they tell us, well, the vice president don't make all the decisions. The vice president's just there in case something happens to the president. Trump's going to be the one in charge, so what J.D. Vance says or does doesn't matter. So there's zero consistency with this argument from MAGA. But there he is saying, stop talking about Project 2025, just don't mention it. Talk about the truth. Well, Project 2025 is true, and Donald Trump has embraced it. Donald Trump has blessed it, according to the people of Project 2025. His name is mentioned over 300 times in Project 2025. We've brought every receipt of them out there at his campaign events. We've brought every receipt of J.D. Vance talking about them, of Trump talking about them, saying how they're great people. Trump will say how that he's never read it. He'll say there's some good things in it, though. There's some good things in it. There's a lot of bad things in it. So if he's not read it, how does he know what's good or bad? See, the problem is those of us in the pro-democracy movement have been talking about Project 2025 this entire time. And what happened is the mainstream media hadn't quite caught wind of it. They really hadn't caught on until people started digging in, reading it, and they could no longer ignore it. And when people started digging in, reading it, they realized just how unpopular that it is. And they realized we don't want this to control our lives. We don't want this to be dictating what we do. And they started speaking out against it. And when they started speaking out against it, then Trump started saying, I know nothing about it. I've never read it. And now Byron Donalds is saying, please don't bring that up. Don't mention Project 2025. Well, you guys are the one that has been running on it. You guys are the one that have been saying you're going to implement it on day one. And so now you're being held accountable. And as far as him talking about her calling him a threat to democracy, Donald Trump absolutely is, and I can prove that pretty easily. Because I would ask Byron Donalds or any other MAGA politician or any other MAGA influencer or MAGA voter, what would be the number one threat to a democracy? What would stand in the way of a country having a democracy? It would be a dictator, correct? A dictator would stop democracy from happening because they would make all the decisions. They would be the one in control. Well, Donald Trump said that he would like to be dictator on day one. Now, I know what a lot of the trolls are going to say. They're going to say, but Brando, he just meant that he was going to fix all of our problems on the first day. He would be dictator, and he would fix all of our problems, and then he would give us our democracy back. Name me one time in history that a dictator was only dictator for one day and gave the democracy back to the people and let them decide. And also, if you are honestly delusional enough to believe that Donald Trump could fix all of your problems on day one, then you should never criticize Kamala and say that she can't do it on day one. If you honestly believe that this guy can get in there and fix all your problems on one day and then walk away like nothing happened. It's absolutely ridiculous that people says that. But what I would also say to Byron Donalds is this. If you don't like Donald Trump's record, then you guys shouldn't have got behind him. If you guys don't like what he stands for and the things he said, then you shouldn't get behind him. It's not our fault that he mocked veterans. It's not our fault that he said he liked prisoners that didn't get caught. And if I try to go down the list, I know I'm going to miss some, so you guys can drop them in the comments. But this guy has mocked women. He has been found liable of sexual abuse, and he defamed the victim. He has went out there. He has tried to overturn an election that he knew he lost. He tried to install fake electors. He said, just find me the votes. Just stop counting in the states that I'm winning and keep counting in the states I'm losing until you find me enough votes. That right there is a threat to democracy. That says he wasn't man enough to accept the results, and therefore he turned to just please make me the winner. Okay, this is a guy that took our documents, okay, that he wasn't supposed to have, wouldn't give them back till the point that the FBI had to raid Mar-a-Lago in order to get them. Now, to everyone that wants to throw Joe Biden under the bus and say, oh, Biden did it too, no, Biden cooperated with officials, and that's why his home didn't get raided. So if you don't like Donald Trump's record, and you don't like the things that he stands for, and you don't like the fact that he incited a riot on our nation's capital, and that he calls those people patriots and hostages, and that he goes out and changes the words to the national anthem and allows those people to sing and stands there at his rallies like you're in some kind of 1930s Germany propaganda event, if you don't like those things, then you should not have ever got behind him. When he talks about how he's going to do mass deportations and how it's going to be bloody and how if someone returns that they're going to be executed on sight. If you don't like those things, Byron Donalds, then you should not have got behind someone that supports those kind of things and says they're going to do those kind of things. So in my mind, I understand they're politicians. I understand they're always going to lie. I always understand they're going to spin things. And I always understand they're going to spin things to their advantage. But if they don't like Donald Trump's record and they don't want us bringing it up, then he should not have been the front runner for your party, because in every political candidate, every political event in my lifetime, every election that's ever happened, no matter what it's for, it doesn't matter for the presidency or for the mayor of a town, they always bring the other opponent's record and they compare the two. So you have Kamala, who has a good record she can run on. Kamala has actually prosecuted criminals. And you got Donald Trump, who is a criminal and who's trying to run from his record. That's not our fault. That's not us turning up the temperature in the room. That's not us trying to create a bunch of hyperbole. That's not. That's just us pointing it out, because the American people deserve to know and they deserve to be reminded. And there's a whole lot of people out there in this world that does not pay attention and will only come in at the last minute to vote. We're paying attention every day. We're here talking about these things every day. You guys that tune into my channel, I know you're not just listening to me. You're listening to everyone in the pro-democracy movement. You're hearing everyone's take on things. You're taking this stuff in on a daily basis. But your coworker at work and the people you're friends with, the people you invite to the cookout, they're not always talking about these things. They just see the grocery bill high. They go through a drive-through at a Wendy's and they go, damn, I can't believe it costs that much for me and my family to eat. And then they say, well, okay, Trump's coming back for a rematch. Hell, it wasn't as expensive when he was in, so let's just give him another crack at it. Meanwhile, we're the ones over here that's been talking about his record nonstop this entire time. And it's not our fault that he has that record, and we are not in the wrong for pointing it out. Again, I expect politicians to lie. I expect politicians to bullshit. I expect them to put their own spin on things. But the problem with it is they can't defend Donald Trump's record. That's why they want us to stop talking about it. They realize we can't defend this. They know deep down what he is, but they're stuck with him. And you're going to watch after this is all over, you're going to watch them try to pick up the pieces, and you're going to watch them try to distance themselves from him, and you're going to watch them bring out someone who will try to be more reasonable and will try to be, or at least sound more reasonable, and will probably return to giving the same old typical politician answer. That's what we're going to see. And I'm not going to let those people off the hook. I blame them for Donald Trump because they're the one that empowered him. They're the one that validated him. And they're the one that platformed him. So they're stuck with it. We're not going to stop talking about it. This election is too important. Democracy is on the line, and we're going to point it out. And when someone says, well, you can't say he's a threat to democracy, then tell him to stop telling us he's going to be a dictator on day one, because we take that very seriously. have him stop saying he's going to terminate the Constitution anytime he sees fit, because we take that very seriously. And the Supreme Court has gave him full immunity for official acts. We know he will call anything he does an official act, because he's trying to go back and say things he did before he was even elected, things that he did while he was running for office in 2016. He says those were official acts as president, and he wasn't even president yet. So if you want us to stop talking about these things, then get behind a candidate who hasn't done these things, because trust me, we would love to not be talking about it. We would love for you to bring somebody out on your side that was so reasonable and had so many good ideas that we were going, dang. I would really like it. I would love to see it happen where I was sitting there going, you know what, folks? I have voted Democrat my entire life in every election. I've voted straight down the line, straight ticket Democrat my entire life. But dang, this guy they got now, this guy the Republican Party has, man, he's got some really good ideas. He seems like a voice of reason. He seems like he's got his head on straight. He seems like that he's going to have a lot better ideas than Kamala or Tim Walz has. But I can't say that because you guys got behind Donald Trump. So don't go out there and tell us to turn down the temperature in the room and stop bringing up his record. What I would say to you is find somebody with a better record.